Imagine screeching into a hospital lot at dawn. Your wife doubled over in agony from premature labor, only to have some power-drunk HOA busybody chain your wheels and smirk like she's just won the lottery of petty tyranny. But what if that victim turns out to be the quiet neighbor who's been documenting every absurd rule she's enforced? Ready to flip the script and watch her empire of nonsense crumble? In the sleepy suburb of Willow Creek, Ohio, where manicured lawns hid a web of ridiculous HOA mandates, lived Jake Harlan, a software engineer who'd moved in 2 years ago with his wife, Mia. The neighborhood looked like a postcard: white picket fences, kids on bikes, and barbecues every weekend. But beneath that facade lurked the iron fist of the Homeowners Association, ruled by Barbara "Barb" Kensington, the self-crowned queen of compliance. Barb was in her mid-50s, with a perm that screamed 80s revival and a wardrobe of pastel polos emblazoned with HOA enforcement. She patrolled the streets in her golf cart, clipboard in hand, enforcing rules like no visible trash cans after 8 p.m. or fines for grass taller than 3 inches. It's about community standards, she'd coo at meetings, her voice dripping with faux sweetness, while neighbors rolled their eyes behind her back. Jake had kept his head down at first. He and Mia were expecting their first child, and the last thing they needed was drama. But whispers started soon after they settled in. Neighbors gossiped that Jake was shady, something about his late-night coding sessions making him look like a hacker or worse. It was all Barb's doing. Of course. She'd spotted him working on his laptop in the garage one evening and decided he was up to no good. "We can't have suspicious types lowering property values," she'd murmur to her cronies, spreading rumors via the neighborhood Facebook group. Jake heard the mutterings at the mailbox. That Harlan guy? Probably running some scam from home. He bit his tongue, smiling politely. But inside, he started noting things. Every fine she slapped on folks for minor infractions. Every overzealous email blast about upholding decorum. He saved screenshots, jotted dates, and even recorded a few of her golf cart drive-bys on his phone. Patience, he told himself. Knowledge is power. One crisp autumn morning, everything shattered. Mia woke Jake at 3 a.m., clutching her belly. "Jake, it's too early." The contractions, "They're bad." Her face was ashen, sweat beading despite the chill. At 32 weeks. This wasn't the plan. Jake bundled her into their SUV, heart hammering, and gunned it to Willow Creek Memorial Hospital. Just a 10-minute drive through empty streets. He whispered reassurances. "Breathe, honey. We're almost there," while Mia gripped the dashboard, her breaths coming in sharp gasps. They skidded under the emergency overhang, and Jake threw the car into park in the nearest spot, a bay marked emergency vehicles only. But with Mia barely able to stand, he figured this qualified as an emergency. Nurses rushed out with a wheelchair, wheeling her inside as she winced through another wave of pain. "Go with her," one nurse urged. "We'll handle the intake." Jake grabbed the hospital bag from the trunk. But as he turned, a voice sliced through the pre-dawn quiet like a bat alarm. "Excuse me, sir. You can't park there." There stood Barb, materializing from the shadows like a vampire at a blood drive. She wasn't even supposed to be there, turns out. The HOA had a partnership with the hospital to monitor the lot. Or so she claimed. Windbreaker zipped to her chin, flashlight beaming accusingly at the sign. "This is reserved for ambulances and staff. Move it now, or I'll have to issue a citation." Jake froze, bag slung over his shoulder. Through the glass doors, he could see Mia being hurried down the hall. "My wife's in labor, premature." They're taking her in for an emergency C-section. I'll move it as soon as she's stable. Please. Barb's lips curled into that trademark smile, polite on the surface, but with an edge sharp enough to cut glass. Rules are rules. Mr. Harlan. I know who you are. That shady guy from Elm Street. Right? Can't have folks like you thinking you're above the law. She pulled out her phone, dialing with theatrical flair. Hey. Eddie? Yeah. It's Barb. Got a violator at Memorial. Boot in tow. Make it snappy. Ma'am. My daughter might not make it if things go wrong. I need to be with my wife. Jake's voice cracked. But Barb just shrugged, her eyes gleaming with that petty thrill of control. Not my problem. This lot falls under HOA oversight. We maintain order so emergencies can happen smoothly, ironically. I suppose. She chuckled at her own joke. But it landed like a lead balloon. A nurse poked her head out. Mr. Harlan? We need you, now. Jake dropped the bag and ran inside, leaving Barb smirking in the lot. In the OR. It was chaos under sterile lights. Mia's blood pressure spiked. Monitors beeping wildly. Preeclampsia, the doctor barked. We're going in. Jake held her hand, masked and gloved, murmuring, I'm here. Mia. We've got this. Their daughter, Lily, arrived with a weak cry, tiny, fragile. Rushed to the NICU incubator. Respiratory distress, the neonatologist explained. She's fighting. But the next day is critical. Jake collapsed in a chair, staring at the clock. His phone still in the car. Mia. Post-surgery and groggy. Squeezed his hand. Go check on the car later. Lily needs us. Hours ticked by in that fluorescent purgatory. Jake finally slipped out to the lot, only to find his SUV booted with a glaring yellow clamp and a $400 ticket fluttering on the windshield. Barb lounged against her golf cart, yes. She'd driven it there, sipping coffee like it was a tailgate party. Too late now. Harlan. That's $400 for the violation. $150 for boot removal. Cash or check? Oh. And Eddie's on his way to tow if you don't pay up. My phone's in there, I need to call family. My daughter's hooked to machines upstairs. Jake's fists clenched. But he kept his cool, remembering his notes. Barb leaned in, voice saccharine. Should have thought of that before parking like a king. We can't let rule breakers disrupt the community. Imagine if everyone did it. Chaos. Her tone mocked concern, but her eyes sparkled with dominance. Eddie arrived, chains rattling, and hooked the SUV. Wait, the car seat for the baby. Jake protested. Evidence of noncompliance, Barb quipped, waving him off. The truck hauled it away, leaving Jake stranded. A kind orderly lent him a phone and $50 for a cab, muttering, that woman's a menace. Happens more than you think. Back upstairs. Lily's tiny chest rose and fell unevenly, tubes snaking everywhere. Jake touched her hand through the incubator port. Hang in there, kiddo. Mia woke briefly. What happened? He downplayed it, but rage simmered. That night, while Mia slept, Jake pulled out his laptop, borrowed from a nurse, and dove into his files. The rumors about him, Barb's posts in the group, twisting his late nights into suspicious activity. But deeper, the HOA's contract with the hospital. He cross-checked public records. Expired 3 years ago. No renewal. Barb had been freelancing. Pocketing fines. Complaints stacked up, families fined during heart attacks. A widow booted while her husband flatlined. All ignored because Barb schmoozed the board with promises of enhanced security. The whispers escalated. Barb, sensing pushback, amped her campaign. At the next HOA meeting, virtual. Of course, she ranted, that Harlan is trouble. Parked illegally during a so-called emergency? Probably faking it for sympathy. We need unity against such flouters. Neighbors murmured agreement. But Jake lurked in the chat. Silent. Online. She posted, beware of residents who disregard rules, it's how neighborhoods fall apart. Comments piled on, yeah. What's with that guy? Jake saved it all. His patience a coiled spring. Meanwhile, Lily dipped, fever spiking. Infection, Doc said. Jake and Mia held vigil. Nails digging into palms. Fight. Baby, Jake whispered. He skipped sleep. Researching more, Barb's ledger hints from leaked emails. Fines funneled to her personal fund. She feared losing her presidency, elections loomed, so she doubled down on control. Finding a kid's lemonade stand for unauthorized commerce. Tensions boiled. Jake confided in a neighbor. Tom. Who'd been fined for a bird feeder attracting pests. She's out of control, Tom agreed. Together. They gathered affidavits, a mom ticketed mid-seizure rush. An elder towed during chemo drop-off. Barb caught wind and confronted Jake at his door one evening. Golf cart idling. I hear you're stirring trouble. Harlan. Drop it. Or I'll make sure everyone knows about your night activities. Sketchy. Isn't it? Jake smiled thinly. Just following rules. Barb. Transparency is key. Right? Her face flushed, confident mask cracking. You think you're smart? I've run this HOA for a decade. No one's touched me. But the pressure mounted. Lily stabilized on day 4, tubes reduced. Her grip stronger. She's a fighter, Mia beamed. Holding her for the first time. Energized. Jake leaked the expired contract to the local paper anonymously. Headlines screamed, HOA overreach at hospital. Families fined in crises. Barb panicked. Emailing the board, this is a smear. Harlan's behind it, probably hacking our systems. Ironic. Given her rumors. At the emergency board meeting. She blustered, we must protect our authority. Fine him double for slander. Jake attended. Calm as a monk. Actually. Barb. Let's review the facts. He projected as evidence, expired docs. Unremitted fines. Her side account ballooning to $50,000. Gasps rippled. This is fraud, Tom declared. Barb's face twisted, shock to fury. You can't prove that. It's for community events. Like your spa weekends? Jake quipped. Sliding receipts. The board voted her out on the spot. Her protests drowning in booze. But I'm the president. Rules are over, the vice chair cut in. Police arrived next. Cuffs clicking. Charges, extortion. Fraud. Impersonation. The hospital severed ties. Apologizing publicly. Neighbors cheered as Barb's golf cart was impounded, poetic justice. In the aftermath. Willow Creek breathed easier. Jake pushed for reforms, no private enforcement at medical sites. Clear drop zones. Fines only by cops. The suburb adopted it. Dubbing it Lily's Clause. Barb got 2 years. Plus restitution. A letter arrived months later, I was wrong. power went to my head. Jake filed it away. No reply needed. Lily's first steps came amid backyard laughs. No shadows lingering. Jake reflected on the absurdity, how one woman's clipboard empire nearly cost lives for ego. But kindness won, nurses' loans. Neighbors' support. Truth's quiet triumph. So, was Barb the real villain? Or just a product of a system that lets petty tyrants thrive? Drop your take below. Could you forgive? Or would you have booted her ego first?